Some people don't raise their voice. They don't argue. They don't threaten you. But without saying a single word, they dominate entire rooms. Machiavelli warned us about this silent kind of power, the kind that controls you before you even realize it. The question is, are you using it, or is someone using it on you? Welcome to the Prince's Doctrine. You may think power belongs to the loud, the aggressive, the visibly dominant. But history has always belonged to the ones who spoke less, revealed less, and acted with calculated silence. What if I told you that the most powerful form of domination is not physical, not verbal, but psychological? What if the strongest leaders in history didn't win because they were the best fighters, but because they mastered the art of controlling perception? The whole world is ruled silently. Look closely at the world around you. You'll notice something strange. The ones truly in control rarely speak the most. They rarely explain themselves. They rarely justify their choices. They move with a calmness that confuses people, and that confusion is their power. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must appear calm, composed, and in control, not because it's morally right, but because it keeps everyone else guessing, because uncertainty creates obedience. Through all of history, silence has been the weapon of those who understood human nature at its core. Take Saladin, the legendary Muslim general. He defeated entire armies, not through rage or violent speeches, but through calm, strategic patience. He would listen more than he spoke. He would observe more than he reacted, and his silence made enemies believe he knew more than he actually did. It created fear, respect, and a sense of inevitability, silent domination. Or look at Emperor Akbar of the Mughal Empire. He gathered rivals, generals, scholars, and listened, just listened. He studied their words, expressions, weaknesses. While they were busy trying to impress him, he was busy understanding how to control them. His silence became the throne before he ever sat on one. Power does not shout. Weakness does. Why people submit to invisible power? Most people don't realize this, but humans are mentally wired to obey what they do not fully understand. People fear what they can't predict. People respect what they can't manipulate. People follow what they can't decode. Think about it. You respect the teacher who doesn't shout, but whose silence makes the room fall quiet. You fear the boss who doesn't make threats, but whose presence alone changes your behavior. You admire the friend who doesn't chase approval, but whose calm indifference pulls people toward him. People submit to silent power because they fill the silence with their own insecurities. They assume the quiet person knows something they don't. They fear the unknown consequences of disrespect. They project strength onto the one who speaks less. Humans are not afraid of violence. They're afraid of uncertainty. Machiavelli understood this. He knew that loud leaders attract rebellion, but silent leaders create psychological fog. A fog where no one is brave enough to strike. The weak man's biggest lie: I'm a good person. Weak people believe being good will protect them. They think moral purity earns respect, loyalty, admiration. But history shows the opposite. People didn't follow Sultan Mehmed II because he was kind. They followed him because he was decisive, controlled, unreadable. He didn't shout orders. He spoke softly, firmly, and rarely. And the empire moved. People didn't respect Shivaji Maharaj because he sought fairness. They respected him because he moved strategically, revealed little, and struck when no one expected. The truth is harsh. Goodness without power is invisible. Morality without strength is ignored. Fairness without boundaries is exploited. The world rewards those who can control themselves, not those who hope others will treat them kindly. A good man without power becomes a tool. A good man with power becomes a leader. Machiavelli didn't tell you to be evil. He told you to be effective. And effectiveness begins inside the mind. You know. The strongest weapon in human behavior. Real power isn't about what you have. It's about what people believe you're capable of. Consider Imam Shamil, the Caucasian resistance leader. He defended mountains against empires much larger than his own. But it wasn't his army that frightened the Russians. It was the myth of his presence. He rarely appeared. He rarely spoke publicly. His silence created an aura of invincibility. When people don't know your limits, they assume you have none. When people don't know your intentions, they fear crossing them. When people can't read you, they obey you by default. Silent domination begins with controlling perception, not through lies, but through selective revelation. Power is never about loudness. It is about controlled invisibility. The silent rules of human nature. Every society, every relationship, every group runs on the same hidden rules. Rules no one teaches you, yet everyone follows instinctively. Rule no one. People follow the calm, not the emotional. Emotions show weakness. Calmness signals control. Rule no two. Authority belongs to the least reactive person. The one who reacts least holds the psychological high ground. Rule no three. Humans look for a silent leader in every group. Even among friends, one person has unspoken authority. Usually the one who speaks the least, but observes the most. Rule no four. Power is given to the one who seems least desperate for it. Look at any workplace, family, or circle of friends. The loud one gets ignored. The insecure one gets used. The emotional one gets manipulated. But the silent, composed one gets respect by default. People need hierarchy. If you don't take the dominant psychological position, you automatically fall into the submissive one. There is no middle ground. The predator versus prey mindset. This is the final layer of silent domination. A predator observes first, moves second. A prey reacts first, thinks later. Predators don't announce intentions. They don't show emotion. They don't give warnings. They operate through patience, calculation, composure, minimal movement, silence. Look at Tamerlane, a ruler whose enemies feared him, not because of speeches, but because no one ever knew what he would do next. He would appear without warning, strike with precision, then vanish into silence again. Predictability is weakness. Unpredictability is power. Silent domination makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability forces people into submission. Silent domination is not about being quiet. It's about being unreadable, unreactive, strategic, psychologically superior. Bodies win fights. Voices win arguments. But perception wins empires. And as Machiavelli warned, the strongest men rarely need to speak. Their silence is enough to rule. Before a man can dominate a room silently, before he can hold power without raising his voice, before he can command respect without asking for it, he must rebuild himself from the inside out. Silent domination is not a tactic. It is not a trick. It is not something you do. It is something you become. And no man becomes powerful until something inside him dies. First, you need to make the death of the old self. Every transformation begins with destruction. The destruction of the needy self, the insecure self, the reactive self, the version of you who over-explains, over-apologizes, chases validation, and fears being misunderstood. That version of you cannot hold power. The world trained you to be predictable, to answer quickly, to smile instantly, to react emotionally, to avoid conflict, to bend so others don't break. But the men who hold power are the men who refuse to bend for anyone. History remembers Suleiman the Magnificent, not just for his empire, but for his emotional discipline. He could endure betrayal, pressure, political danger, and yet his face remained unreadable. His worst enemy was his own anger. So he learned to kill that version of himself. You must do the same. The first step to becoming Machiavellian is self-erasure. Erase the habit of defending yourself. Erase the addiction to explaining yourself. Erase the instinct to react quickly. Erase the urge to fix others' discomfort. Erase the need to be liked, until the only version of you that remains is calm, controlled, observing, and unshakable. You cannot dominate others until you dominate yourself. You need the Machiavellian confidence blueprint. Confidence is not loud. Confidence is not aggressive. Confidence does not announce itself. True, confidence is built on predictable self-control. You trust yourself because you know. You won't panic. You won't lose emotional balance. You won't betray your own values. You won't expose your weaknesses. You won't let others drag you into their chaos. Most men think confidence is about presence, but Machiavellian confidence is about absence. The absence of fear, the absence of hesitation, the absence of emotional noise. Confidence comes from silence within. But how do you build that? By disciplining your instincts. A man becomes powerful the moment he stops being controlled by urges, anger, approval, loneliness, insecurity, lust, ego. Confidence is not about hype. It's about control. The Japanese samurai lord Uesugi Kenshin embodied this. He walked into negotiations with absolute stillness. The enemy would speak, threaten, bargain, and Kenshin would barely react. People believed he was unshakable. In reality, he had simply mastered the art of not exposing his internal world. Confidence is not expression. Confidence is containment. Master in emotional control, the root of all power. There is no power without emotional mastery. A man who can be provoked is a man who can be controlled. A man who reacts instantly is a man who can be manipulated. A man who shows anger reveals his fears. A man who shows insecurity gives others the blueprint to destroy him. Silent domination comes from being unreadable. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must learn to be unmoved by praise and unmoved by insult." That is emotional neutrality, the rarest form of psychological strength. Think of Sultan Baybars, the Mamluk ruler. He negotiated with enemies who tried to insult him into reacting, but he didn't respond. He didn't flinch. He didn't reveal vulnerability. He understood that emotional reaction equals surrender. Emotional control is not suppression. It is direction. You feel the emotion, but you do not show it. You feel the impulse, but you do not obey it. You feel the anger, but you turn it into strategy. Emotion becomes fuel, but never steering. Take the advantage of being misunderstood. The most dangerous man in any room is the man no one can figure out. When people don't understand you, they cannot predict you. When they cannot predict you, they cannot manipulate you. When they cannot manipulate you, they fear you. Being misunderstood is not a weakness. It is camouflage. Look at Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who outwitted the Abbasid caliphs with sheer psychological resistance. They couldn't predict him. He didn't react like they expected. They couldn't intimidate him. He stayed silent where others begged. They couldn't break him. He remained calm where others would crumble. His unpredictability made the most powerful rulers afraid of a single scholar. What does this teach you? Predictability is a prison. Mystery is freedom. Let people form theories about you. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them misread your silence. Let them be uncomfortable. Your unreadability becomes your armor. Become strategic silence. The tool of kings. Silence is not the absence of words. Silence is the presence of power. People reveal themselves when you speak less. They rush to fill the space. They overshare. They expose insecurities. They apologize. They try to impress you. Every second you remain silent, someone else loses control. Machiavelli's rulers used silence as a method of dominance. Ask fewer questions. Answer only what is necessary. Pause before responding. Use silence to pressure others into revealing more. Let others expose their intentions first. Silence forces others to negotiate against themselves. In the courts of Ottoman Vizier Sokolu Mehmed Pasha, he often allowed ambassadors to speak endlessly while he listened, hands folded. They revealed their secrets, fears, strategies, trying to interpret his unreadable face. His silence was not passive. It was a trap. Learn to use silence as your battlefield. Reading people you like, open books. You cannot dominate silently if you cannot observe deeply. Power requires precise understanding of desires, fears, insecurities, ego priorities, patterns, emotional triggers. Most people speak without thinking. They express without strategy. They reveal themselves unintentionally. But powerful people watch first. Consider Shah Abbas of Persia, who rebuilt his empire by studying the psychology of allies and enemies alike. He watched how men reacted to stress, praise, threat. He learned who could be loyal, who could be bought, who could be broken. He collected information like a weapon. Observation is intelligence. Intelligence is leverage. Leverage is power. To read people like open books. Notice what they brag about. That's their insecurity. Notice what they avoid. That's their weakness. Notice what they chase. That's their hunger. Notice who they fear. That's their hierarchy. Notice how they react under silence. That's their emotional control. Once you see people clearly, you can influence them effortlessly. Silent domination is simply the mastery of invisibly guiding human behavior. This is the Machiavellian core. Silent domination is not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself so effectively that the world must adjust to you. By now, you understand the nature of silent power. You understand the inner transformation required to wield it. But knowing is not enough. This chapter is about application, how silent domination reshapes the world around you, how it gives you influence without speaking, how it makes people respect you without asking, how it lets you control situations without force. This is where theory becomes weapon. Remember Machiavelli's darkest lesson, domination without threats. The modern world thinks power comes from aggression, confrontation, and loud leadership. But Machiavelli revealed a darker truth. The most secure type of power is the kind no one realizes you're using. If people can't see your tactics, they can't defend against them. If they can't see your influence, they can't accuse you. If they can't see your control, they can't rebel. This is why history's most effective rulers mastered silent rule. Look at Alp Arslan, the Seljuk ruler. He didn't rule with chaotic force. He ruled with calm precision. Diplomats feared disappointing him, not because he roared, but because he didn't. His silence was terrifying. It forced others to reveal their intentions before he revealed his own. The loud make noise. The powerful make moves. Silent domination is the ability to shift a room, a conversation, a relationship, a negotiation, without raising your voice or exposing your strategy, because the less you reveal, the more others must guess, and guessing is submission. The most dangerous tactics of invisible control. Silent domination is not passive, it is active influence executed quietly. Below are the tactics Machiavellian thinkers used, subtle, psychological, and devastatingly effective. Scarcity of presence. Showing up less makes your presence more valuable. Scarcity creates demand. Demand creates leverage. This is why powerful men are never easy to access. Mystery amplifies authority. Selective generosity. Give rarely, give strategically, give with purpose. A small favor at the right moment creates emotional debt. People repay silent generosity more loyally than spoken commands. Controlled ambiguity. Never reveal your full thoughts. Never show your full plan. Never express where your loyalty fully lies. Ambiguity forces others to behave carefully around you. Information asymmetry. Know more than you reveal. Reveal less than you know. Knowledge is leverage. Leverage is silent control. Psychological vacuum. When you withhold your reactions, people fill the silence with their own fears. They project. They panic. They over-explain. They expose themselves. Your silence becomes their interrogation room, strategic withdrawal. Sometimes you gain influence not by speaking, but by stepping back. Distance triggers curiosity. Curiosity triggers pursuit. Those who chase you cannot dominate you. Become mastermind in social environments, which are psychological battlefields. Every environment you walk into, workplace, family, friendships, romantic interactions, is built on hidden hierarchies. Most men don't see these hierarchies. They chase respect instead of positioning themselves to receive it. Silent domination allows you to bend environments to your advantage. In professional settings, the man who speaks last is perceived as the wisest. The man who reacts least is assumed to be in control. The man who listens deeply becomes the one others seek approval from. Meetings, negotiations, teamwork. The calm observer slowly becomes the unspoken leader. In friendships groups, always organize around one psychological center. It's rarely the loudest. It's the calmest, least reactive, most composed presence. Silent authority replaces social approval seeking. In relationships, the partner who holds emotional control sets the tone of the relationship. Not controlling the other person, but controlling your own emotions so completely that the other person adjusts to you. Presence becomes gravity. With enemies or competitors. Silent men terrify rivals, because you cannot fight what you cannot read. You cannot attack what you cannot provoke. Silent domination makes you unassailable. How to make people respect you. Without asking, respect is not earned through kindness. It is earned through consistency, boundaries, and psychological strength. Most people try to earn respect by explaining themselves, proving themselves, pleasing others, showing their worth. Powerful men earn respect by saying less, reacting slower, controlling their emotions, protecting their time, enforcing their standards, withholding unnecessary access. People respect you when they realize they cannot manipulate you. They cannot predict you. They cannot pressure you. They cannot shake you. Respect is a natural response to unshakability. Look at Nur ad-Din Zangi, the Syrian ruler. He wasn't charismatic, he wasn't loud, he wasn't a showman, but his self-discipline was terrifying. His patience was respected. His silence carried more weight than other men's speeches. People voluntarily followed him because they trusted his inner stability. Silent domination turns you into a man whose presence feels heavier than other men's words. master in the art of cold negotiation. In negotiation, whether business, personal, or political, the man who stays cold wins. Cold negotiation does not mean hostile. It means emotionally still. Here's the real secret. The first person to react loses leverage. The first person to justify loses respect. The first person to panic loses position. The first person to fill the silence loses control. Successful negotiators understand this instinctively. The legendary diplomat Ibn al-Qalanisi faced enemies twice his power. He did not beg or threaten. He remained still, speaking only in minimal calculated lines. His calmness made opponents assume he had hidden leverage. That assumption became his leverage. Cold negotiation requires deliberate pauses, neutral facial expressions, no emotional attachment, slow speech, silence after their offer, unreadable posture, rejection without justification. Silence in negotiation is pressure. Pressure forces mistakes, becoming untouchable. In their mind. Silent domination is not a skill. It is a state of being. You become untouchable the moment. No insult provokes you. No pressure breaks you. No flattery blinds you. No loneliness weakens you. No attention distracts you. No conflict intimidates you. You become a force of nature. Someone who is not easily influenced, manipulated, or emotionally hijacked. This is the final Machiavellian transformation. You no longer need to show strength. Your presence is strength. You no longer need to explain your decisions. Your silence communicates them. You no longer need to seek respect. People adjust to you automatically. You no longer need to dominate. Your existence dominates. This is what Chapter 3 has prepared you for. The point where power becomes effortless. Not because you exert force, but because you radiate stability, restraint, and controlled unpredictability. The world bows to the man who bows to nothing inside himself. Silent domination is the eradication of emotional chaos, the mastery of presence, the control of perception, the wielding of information, the weaponization of silence, the art of disciplined unpredictability, the psychological shaping of environments, the transformation into someone others instinctively follow. Machiavelli's darkest lesson is simple. The strongest rulers never shout. They never need to. Their silence carries the weight of a kingdom.